The 2024-25 season was full of magical moments. The bad news, the season has just ended. The good news, a new season is waiting for us. But in the meantime, this is the moment to recap what happened. What were the biggest moments? What was an insane tifo? What was a player who finally had his breakthrough? But what were also some moments where teams completely collapsed? This time, not HSV, but another team.
Yeah, this was also the season of the underdogs, of the miracle stories. We're going to cover all that in this episode. Welcome back to Football Ultras.
We're going to start off with what we love most, the tifos and the pyro. Has there been a moment that's gone viral because of its enormous impact?
Oh, I think there's been a few, man. Most notably where I've been, Legia in Warsaw. Against Chelsea, the game, not just that one. They've had a lot of moments, but that one I've visited. I think 3 different choreos, several pyro shows. Everybody chanting during the pyro, which is not always the case during the choreo. Even they chanted. That was so impressive, man. Also, like you talked about viral, I made a video there. Also, like a quick video, just welcome to Polish fans, and they went completely crazy. So many people commented like, oh my God, I wasn't familiar with Polish fans game. I think lots of people this season came across Polish fans for the first time and realized how crazy this fan culture is. Especially what I've witnessed Legia, but there are many more clubs.
Of course, I think, not to brag, but I started 2 years ago my journey to Poland, and there I found how impressive it is. But I think also France showed me this year how underrated some of their fan bases are. Olympique Lyonnais was amazing. Like the stadium, the atmosphere was really, really good. They have 2 sections with good ultras. Also at lower levels, Bordeaux was good. They had a good pyro show. So France is an underrated gem, I think. I think it doesn't get enough praise. Like you have Arcelans in the north, you in the south, you have Lyonnais, Nice, Marseille, Saint-Etienne. I think there's for everyone something to seek.
So if you had to choose one country that you explored this year in terms of football culture where you were really surprised, it would be France for you?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. For me, it would be Poland. So nice. That night, 2 really nice choices, I think.
Yeah.
And actually Poland also fits for our next chapter, which is political tifos, because politics, we've made an entire episode about this. It still plays a huge role in football. Have you seen some political messages in any of your games you went to, like when ultras really got into the political side of football?
Yeah, of course, Germany. Really sensitive when you talk about like a lot of terrorist attack happened, still happen in Germany, unfortunately. In Magdeburg, someone killed a lot of people at a Christmas market.
Yeah.
That became really sensitive because some clubs with left ideologies put up some banners like all refugees welcome, which was already planned, but the timing was a bit sensitive.
I think 1 or 2 days after that, right?
Yeah.
Bremen.
Those kind of things are always sensitive.
Yeah, definitely. And then you've got the opposite side, which would be in this case Legia. They put up that famous banner tifo that also went pretty viral when they put a banner like that said refugees welcome. You know exactly which one I mean, right? But it said refugees welcome, but instead they put like a blonde woman with holding like a pork. Then there was 2 like tough guys with a hammer and a pickaxe. Like it was obviously irony, like welcome, but you're gonna get beaten up. So that's their point of view there. So I just find it interesting, without obviously taking any sides. I just find it interesting how different those ultra groups of different clubs are. Because on the other hand, you've got Bremen, St. Pauli in Germany, who are like obviously. They put up those banners, refugees welcome, regularly. And Legia, I feel like obviously were mocking them.
Yeah.
Not just them, but they were mocking all the clubs that have like leftist ideologies. While St. Pauli also had a banner that...
talking about your favorite club in Germany, St. Pauli. Have they done anything this season that kind of got on your nerves?
Well, not on my nerves, but I know they have like almost every home game, they have a banner where I see like ultra pages on social media posting it and mocking it, because let's be honest, most of these ultra accounts, they're pretty right wing. That post like, you know, the accounts that I mean, right? On Twitter, on Instagram, and they will usually mock anything that St. Pauli ultras do. One thing was, I think they put up a banner saying ultra has no gender. And they put up like pics of like representing trans, queer, whatever, kind of people in ultra stands and being like, yeah, there are also trans ultras and being like LGBTQ and that stuff. And obviously, yeah, that caused a lot of controversy and was mocked by lots of more conservative fan bases. So this is always a sign that politics are everywhere in football. Like every fan base has some kind of political aspect to it. Almost every fan base in football, I feel.
Yeah, in my ideal world, there's no politics in football. Like you are there to support your club and not to like convince other people what to vote. Because in the end, I think every person should be entitled to their own opinion and what they vote for. And of course, you can have like a debate or a conversation about it. But for me, it just doesn't belong in football stadiums. For me, what's most important is to back your team and be focused on that and having fun. Like going to a football match should be fun and not about who you are voting for. And maybe I'm now sounding like a basic bitch, but that's just genuinely how I feel about it. That's genuinely how I feel about it.
But some clubs, obviously, they stand for, or they want to stand for more than just football, like St. Pauli, or like you talk about who to vote for. I think that is very rare. That like oftentimes fans will display their political ideologies, but they won't directly tell you who to vote for. But in Poland, Legia, the game that I went to actually happened. The game against Chelsea, Legia Ultras actually put up a banner, which I wouldn't have understood, but I had a friend next to me that was Polish and translated it for me. It said, "Don't vote for." I think he was called Trzaskowski or something. That's the mayor of Warsaw, and he was running for president in Poland. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, he lost. A few weeks ago, he lost the election. Actually, and Legia fans put up a big banner saying, "Don't vote for this guy," which was the rather liberal guy, and he lost to the conservative guy.
Ultra of another club became president in Poland. The president from now is a big football fan.
He is the very conservative guy is also a football fan. Yeah, but I found that really rare. Like I've never seen that before. But obviously football is not just politics. Luckily, we've also got the biggest shocks, the biggest results, the biggest upsets this season. What was that for you?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is actually Inter beating Barça. Because play-wise, Barça is like, in my opinion, still much better. But tactic-wise and intensity, Inter deserved it. Like, let's be honest. So that was for me in the end of the season a huge surprise.
It was a crazy game as well. I mean, Barca at one point were multiple times in the game in both legs were up. Inter, obviously, I think they came back last minute in the second leg. I think this might have been the most exciting game of all season we've seen all season.
Yeah, and then if you ask me about a shocking result, I'm going to be honest here. I hope the club forgives me for it, but I somehow feel like how Sporting performed in Europe is a big shock.
You didn't expect them to lose to Dortmund, right?
In a negative way. Yeah, no. At that point I did, but at the start of the season, how they played, they were unbeaten in the league.
With Amorim, bro. Without Amorim, they were kind of fucked in Europe.
Bro, they fucking smashed Manchester City at home. Like Haaland was nothing. And then, of course, Amorim left. And also for him to go to United is also a shock. So I think maybe the Sporting story, it maybe doesn't get like international attention. But I think the whole story of Sporting and Ruben Amorim, who now goes to Man United, is one of the most interesting psychology stories ever existed in football. Like, how can you... When he left, there came a new coach from the youth league
that team. Was not ready, right?
They lost 4 or 5 games in a row. Yeah. Like the same players. Gyökeres in attack, Diamant in the defending, Højlund in the midfield, and they were trash.
That shows how much of an impact a coach makes, right?
Like I've seen it from up close. Like
you were there.
Sporting going to Leipzig away. Leipzig were already done.
They lost.
They lost. Like, and it was deserved. Like I feel like there was so much more potential for Sporting this year. And now, of course, Gyökeres is going to leave this summer. So. And of course, like Harder is a good striker, so I think Sporting still can become champions because Benfica is going to have a problem because now they play Club World Cup, then they have to play qualification for Champions League. Bro, they are dead in October.
But if financially for Benfica, Benfica and Sporting have a big upside over Sporting.
Of course,
making
but then
the Club World Cup. You know how much they earn, right?
Yeah, but Benfica has to buy maybe 20 players to make it.
Yeah, but even starting money, like even just the money to be there is I think about 30 million minimum more than Sporting. So it's going to be interesting.
I think physical statistical-wise, I think Sporting has a huge advantage again next season in the Liga Portugal. Talking about a shocking upset, like I think there's going to be a book in 10 years about this scenario, how it is possible. And if you're honest and a United fan, are you happy Ruben Amorim is going to stay? Because Ruben Amorim is going to play 3-5-2, and I don't think it's going to work in the Premier League.
Bro. We saw it in the Europa League as well.
It's not going to work in the Premier League, mate. It's not going to work. They're going to have to buy a lot of players, Man United, if they want to do it, and I don't see them have the budget for it.
I think it's not a great fit, yeah.
But we're not here to predict, so that's my shocking result and biggest upset. Do you agree with it, and what are yours?
I think it's a great story also, and one that, as you said, is not talked about enough in Europe. But after all, they still won the league. So I think if they hadn't won the league because of that, it would have been way bigger, way more of an upset.
Yeah, but Sporting won the league kind of because of Benfica. Like I don't want to do Sporting too short, but of course Sporting won and drew the derby, so they were the better side this year. But Benfica drew at home against a really poor side, and that's why Sporting won.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of... It's part of the game, though. Sporting won deservedly. Well, it's interesting, because I have a totally different kind of story. For me, the biggest upset in football that I choose was Arminia Bielefeld.
Okay.
Yeah, Arminia Bielefeld, third division side in Germany. Now they got promoted, now they're second division. But they were third division last season, and they actually... in the DFB Pokal did something unheard of, bro. As a third division side, you're not even seeded, you're not even guaranteed to play in the DFB Pokal. You have to win your regional, county cup, if we can say that.
That's crazy.
That's a comparison in England, where you play literal amateur side. So they played 6 games in the regional cup. The first game was against a 7th division side, like total amateurs. And they won that on pens. Like the first game, they could have been out already on pens. Then they won first round, second round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final and final of the regional cup. Then they even got the qualification for the DFB Pokal, where then they were total underdogs. First game against Hannover, second division side, big second division side, they won 2-0. Second game against Union Berlin, first Bundesliga side, they won 2-0.
That's no qualification, that's round 1, right?
Yeah, that's then. So the qualification, they won the regional cup, they won 6 games in the regional cup, where in the first game they almost got knocked out on pens.
And then they were qualified.
Then they were qualified for the DFB Pokal, where then in the first round of the DFB Pokal itself, they were huge underdogs. They faced Hannover, a big second Bundesliga side. They won 2-0. Faced in the second round Union Berlin, first Bundesliga side. They won 2-0. In the round of 16, they faced Freiburg, who are now in the Europa League. So pretty good team in the Bundesliga. They won 3-1. And they're a third division side, all the time. Then they faced Werder Bremen, one of the biggest teams in Germany. They won 2-1. That put them in the semis, and then it was going to be over, right? Their third division side, they faced Leverkusen. Invincible Bundesliga and Pokal winners, the current champion Xabi Alonso, Wirtz, all those players, Wirtz wasn't there, Xabi Alonso, all those stars, they were literally unbeaten in the Bundesliga and the Pokal last season, won everything, and they beat them 2-1 deservedly. Like I watched the entire match here, it was not lucky. They
at
home, they were the better team than Leverkusen. Like not gonna lie, not even that they got lucky and sat back, they were better somehow. So they had beaten 1 second Bundesliga side and 5 Bundesliga sides as a third tier side. They go all the way to the final in Berlin, 75,000. There were, I think, over 100,000 Bielefeld fans in Berlin. I was there that weekend. Almost like every Bielefeld fan there was in Berlin. Obviously, the final, they lost 2-4 to Stuttgart, which I think isn't even too bad.
They had a big chance in the first few minutes, and then they conceded.
Yeah, they had like a 100% chance, which hit the post, hit the crossbar, I think, in the first 5 minutes, and then they kind of broke apart. But still, for a third tier side to knock out 5 Bundesliga sides, like this would never happen in England. League One side knocking out 5 Premier League teams, even before they won an entire different cup. I think it's one of the greatest cup stories I've ever seen.
In the Netherlands, there's also, of course, the Dutch Cup. And with last year, we had Ajax losing against an amateur side. That didn't happen this year, but Go Ahead Eagles won the cup, which is quite surprising because they are not like the biggest side in the Netherlands. So I think that's also a huge surprise. That's why I love the cup,
Cup is amazing. In so many countries this year, the cup, and we get to that later, was insane.
Somehow the big clubs don't always pay that much focus to it. As you can see, like Ajax lost against an amateur side, but
Bayern in the last years have always lost against way smaller sides, which I love.
Dortmund the same. Like they always perform very shit in the DFB.
Because they focus more on the UCL probably, which makes the cup so nice. Go Ahead Eagles, I think first trophy since 1933.
Yeah,
bro, what the fuck? That's 90.
And AZ played
years.
them, of course, and AZ. Go Ahead Eagles scored in the last second of the game, the equalizer, and then they won on penalties.
So sick.
Like, you can't make it up. And AZ, that week after, AZ played them and they won 3-0. Like, that's what football and finals do to you. Like, and that's why I find it so impressive that PSG won 5-0 in a final against Inter, because finals are always shit because there's so much density.
Nobody wants to risk anything, so that barely have this many goals.
And that's why I love football or sport at the highest level.
In the Netherlands, there was also, I think, a really big bottle job, right? Because now we're getting to the biggest bottle job.
Talking about a big bottle job in the Netherlands, of course, Ajax. I think Ajax has had a rough few years in the last years. They were, for the last 5 games to go, they were 9 points ahead of the number 2, and they bottle jobbed it.
It's insane. Didn't they
also
only get 2 points in the last 4 games?
Yeah, also with a last second equalizer from Groningen.
Where we kind of witnessed it when we were in Utrecht.
we were at Utrecht, and like, you have to understand that almost the whole of the Netherlands hates Ajax except Ajax fans, and there are some clubs who don't really care about them.
Twente.
Twente also hates Ajax, but not as much as an Utrecht, for example.
Yeah. Which I think international people cannot understand at all, because I feel like Ajax is one of the most loved and respected clubs.
I think
by like Barça fans, Liverpool fans in internationally, they love Ajax, but in the Netherlands, not at all.
If I say to like foreigners, like in the world, so for example, I went to America or Brazil one time, and they ask where are you from, and I say Hollanda, and they say, oh, Ajax Amsterdam, you know, like, it's the biggest club of the country, but somehow Ajax has had a few rough years, bro. Of course, the Tottenham debacle, and now like this mentally must hurt so much.
Yeah,
even though a lot of fans like. The year before, when they lost against Hercules, Ajax was 18th in the Eredivisie after a few months. So,
and then the Ultras stormed the office and everything that happened, right?
So coming from that and now being second, they auto-qualify for Champions League, so they have 50 million.
That was the initial goal before the season.
So they have 50 million in the bank. So with that, they're happy, you know. PSV was also, I think, 10 points ahead of Ajax in December.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, okay. But of course, when you're 5 games away,
you still
9 points ahead... It must hurt.
I think overall, though, this Eredivisie season was one of the greatest we've seen. I think it was the most exciting top 10 league in the world this season. Because as you said, we had PSV had like 10, 11 points by December. Then Ajax, insane comeback, 9 points ahead. So they caught up like almost 20 points. And then you bottle it and PSV win the last 4. And crazy season.
Talking about that, would you agree that clubs who beat like the rivals, so PSV and Feyenoord, because Ajax beat PSV 2 times and Feyenoord 2 times in a season.
But they lost against the small teams.
Yeah, but would you agree that are you a big fan of goal difference or games against each other that decide the title?
Is it goal difference in the Netherlands?
Yeah.
In Germany as well, in England as well. I think in Spain and Italy it's head-to-head.
Yeah, and Portugal as well.
Yeah.
I am a huge advocate for it because...
Yeah.
Those are the games that matter and really decide if you're better. And sometimes you can face a team who has a few injuries or they don't give a fuck. And then you can win 10-0. Do you know what I mean? And
I think in these cases it makes sense. I also think in the UCL it makes sense that it's head-to-head. Okay, now it isn't anymore because it's a big league, but in the small groups, in the Euros. But I think there's points for both sides. Because if you like Freiburg, they had a goal. They qualified for Europe with a negative goal difference. They almost qualified for the UCL with a negative goal difference. So it's like whilst teams like Dortmund or other teams had like plus 10, plus 20, I think it's still a difference if you win every game barely 1-0 or you like completely dominate your opponents. I think it should be valued in some sense. If you clearly win, you're clearly better than someone.
If you have to choose,
because otherwise, if you don't value goal difference in these leagues in Italy, Spain, happens a lot. That we don't see many goals. Yeah, because teams don't need to score. In Serie A and in La Liga, I think they have the least goals on average in the top 5 leagues. And that's because of that, because you don't need to score more. In Germany, England, it's more exciting games.
So what would you choose?
For more exciting games to watch, goal difference. But for fairness, if you're on the same points, I think it's more fair if you compare who beat each other.
Yeah.
So it depends.
I would also go for head-to-head.
If I was a player, head-to-head, because it's fairer, but as a fan to watch, goal difference.
Okay, so let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Club World Cup will be goal difference again, because FIFA is goal difference. UEFA is head-to-head. It's really interesting.
Do you have a huge disappointment that happened this year?
I think the single most disappointing team in European football, big team, is Man United. I think you can't get around Man United. How shit have they been this season? Like, they started the season with Ten Hag, right? He was not good enough. They brought in Amorim, huge hopes. We talked about this, and it didn't change. I'm not blaming Amorim for this, but he didn't change anything. Like, he couldn't turn around anything. They finished 15th only because they won the last game.
Why wouldn't you blame Ruben Amorim? Because he's the manager.
I think he needs to get a full transfer window before you can fully blame it. Okay, I kind of have to blame him, but I think
he's responsible.
He came in mid-season. I think you always
but then don't
have to start judging managers after their first in England, especially after the first full transfer window. Let's say I blame him 50%. And if he finishes just as shit next season, I blame him 100%.
Yeah, that's easy to say.
Yeah, no, but also you look at Man United, you look at the managers they've had. Erik ten Hag, you know from Ajax how great of a manager he can be. He failed. Mourinho, he failed. Like, so many great managers have failed at Man United. So that at this point, I'm not fully blaming the manager anymore, because there seems to be something deeply wrong with this football club. Ronaldo has said it, the training academy, the structures at the club, everything is foul there. Yeah. It's old, it's outdated. And I think it's a toxic atmosphere. And now they finished 15th, 42 points. That's the lowest they ever had in a Premier League season. If they hadn't won that last game, they would have finished on less than 40 points for the first time ever. Or like I think in the Premier League era for sure. And then also, obviously, if they had won the Europa League, like Tottenham were even worse in the league, but they won Europa League. So their season's kind of safe. They play UCL. Man United have nothing. Man United are not in Europe. Man United were shit in the Europa League final. We watched it. Man United are going to have a real problem signing big players. They still are a big name, but every year that kind of diminishes because they don't even have any European football. How are they going to sign a world-class player without any European football? I think it's the biggest disappointment. They're in a horrible position.
Would you be mad at me if I would say Real Madrid is also a big upset because they didn't win any trophy with the amount of money they spent and the expectations they have for the team? They have one of the best players in their squad, let's be honest.
I mean, if you sign Mbappé as a Champions League winner, you expect to win something, huh?
They didn't win one trophy. They didn't have a chance to win a trophy, in my opinion.
I mean, they were in the Copa del Rey final, at least.
But Barça was way better that game.
Yeah.
I think Real Madrid is a huge disappointment. And to be honest, they can sign whoever they want this summer. But I feel still that Real Madrid is having a problem with Vini, Mbappé and Rodrigo in attack. They need a number 9. And without a number 9, I don't see them win a trophy next year. Maybe Copa del Rey, but Barça, bro, Hansi Flick is a fucking genius. He's one of the most underrated managers in the world. Yeah. Barça was a complete fucking mess when he arrived. Xavi made a mess of Barça. He fixed it. He made a good players are focused on the game. Players put effort in their game. He turned Christensen in a solid defender.
Yeah.
Would you have ever considered that?
He was solid at Gladbach, but it was a long time ago. No, but I think it's interesting.
Hansi Flick is one of the most underrated managers in the world, and I honestly would love for him to win the Champions League. I think Barça PSG would have been a way closer match. Inter deserved it in the end. Like, I'm not saying Inter deserved to be in the final, but I would have loved to see Barça Inter.
Barça PSG.
Barça PSG.
I agree with both takes. Madrid is a good shout also for very disappointing because again, you are Champions League winners, you're on top of the world, and then you're at the best player in the world at that time, Mbappé. You want to win everything. Didn't win anything, big disappointment. And Barça, I think it's interesting how Flick combined that high line pressing that he had at Bayern, with the Barça tiki-taka that was still kind of a bit there. He combined those two and it worked out perfectly. So I agree, Barça PSG would have been the best we could get in football this year.
I've never been a fan of Barça.
Me neither,
I've always been a fan of how they play football. Like when I was a kid, I always turned on the TV to watch Barça. And this season, oh man, Barça Inter was amazing to watch.
Insane, maybe. And also, they're just a joy to watch. Yamal is just a joy to watch. You don't have to like him. Maybe some people call him arrogant, but he is the best player, I would say, in the world right now.
One of the last chapters of this episode, the season of surprises, as you mentioned in the intro. You are the biggest football nerd on this planet. So go ahead.
Should I start yapping?
You can now start yapping, and if it's too much, then
you can stop me. Well, we've had a lot of surprises this season. I think I've made a separate video about this as well. I think it is the season of miracles. I cannot remember a season with so many interesting underdog stories. HSV, I have to mention this first, okay? It's maybe not an underdog story, but finally we got promoted after 7 years.
But there was one team better than HSV this season.
No, nobody. But okay.
There was one team who had more points than HSV in the same league. Could you name that club?
Yeah, Köln. And I'm happy for you.
So Köln was better than HSV this year.
A bit. Maybe 1%.
They were better. You can just say yeah.
Yeah, okay, you were better. Okay, you were better. But we are both in the Bundesliga, and let's see who's better next season. So we've got HSV, which was a huge. Finally, it was the break of a curse. I think Sunderland was also kind of a surprise because they fell down. Like they were in the Prem 7-8 years ago, fell down as low as League One. Back now in the Championship, and they got into the playoffs and they won the playoff final. The biggest game in football, by the way, in terms of money.
It's a beautiful story, isn't it?
Beautiful story. In the 95th minute, they won like the limbs, bro. At Wembley, playoff final, you win in the 95th minute. That is insane.
Beautiful goal, beautiful limbs.
So happy for Sunderland to be back. That happened. We've got, obviously, Bielefeld, I talked about that. Even Stuttgart, who beat Bielefeld in the final, won their first cup in 28 years as well. So that is, like, even before the season, you wouldn't have expected Stuttgart to win the trophy.
Then in Scotland, you have two big teams, Rangers and Celtic.
None of them won their cup. So the Scottish Cup was won by Aberdeen.
That's already a huge surprise.
That's also a huge surprise. First time since 1990 that they won the cup there.
Wow.
They beat Celtic in the final, so that wasn't like surprise after surprise. And almost all of them are in the cup, love cups. We've got the Austrian Cup, WAC, Wolfsberger AC, which is a literal village side. They've never won a trophy. It's a really small club. So they won the Austrian Cup, which was also a surprise. Then we've had obviously Tottenham winning their first trophy in 17 years. We've got Go Ahead Eagles, first trophy in 92 years. Dutch Cup. We've got Newcastle. Of course, they have the oil money, but still they won their first trophy in 70 years in the League Cup final against Liverpool.
Yeah.
That's also kind of a surprise. Then we've had in the same country Palace win the FA Cup against City, Crystal Palace.
That was for me one of the most beautiful moments this year.
Football is alive, bro. That showed me like football is still there against Man City.
Proper fans, Crystal Palace.
Proper fans, a small club, a proper local club against a big Man City rich club, and they won their first ever trophy. Crystal Palace had never won a trophy, so that's also beautiful. We've got Bologna in the Coppa Italia winning against Milan.
Yeah.
Milan, by the way, also one of the biggest disappointments. We could have mentioned them.
Yeah.
They're not in Europe next year.
And then the biggest surprise for me that hasn't been talked about enough.
Okay, which one?
Is Union Saint-Gilloise.
Yeah, this one, that was the last on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, USG won their first league title in 90 years.
I was 2 years ago at the last matchday of the Jupiler Pro League, the Belgium league.
Antwerp won, right?
Union was ahead in the 19th minute. They were champions for the first time in 88 years at that time. Then in the last second, the midfielder of Antwerp lays it back to Toby Alderweireld, and he just fucking screams the ball in the top corner.
Kind of beautiful story though for Toby Alderweireld.
I haven't seen anything like it. Like, it's a Sergio Kun Agüero story. Like, you cannot believe what happened there. Like,
I saw your video. That was insane. One of the greatest videos.
I remember I recorded it and I was like, this might be the most insane moment in history football in Belgium. What I just recorded.
Because I think it was a triple threat. There was another team. Club Brugge could have won.
Yeah, so there were 4 teams who could win.
Four in the last match day.
Yeah, but the 4 team was kind of like they had to win 8-0.
Yeah, okay. So 3 realistically.
So 3 teams were having a chance. Genk had a chance.
Genk, no Brugge, okay.
So Genk was, I think, winning the league till the 85th minute. Then Union Saint-Gilloise scored, so then Genk was kind of done.
It was so crazy.
And then Alderweireld scored that goal and Antwerp was winning. So Antwerp didn't have one chance. They were not one single minute in that game winning the league.
Crazy.
Do you know what I mean? And then in the 90th minute they scored and then they were first.
Against who?
Against Genk.
They were playing
away.
Against Genk.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. But now USG finally have done it. I think it's a great story as well. Yeah. Like they were in the second division 2020 or 2021. They got promoted then.
But the thing that's a bit shit about them is that they can't play European football in their own stadium.
Right. They will have to...
They go a lot of times to Anderlecht.
They go to... That's kind of their rivals though.
Not really.
They're both in Brussels.
Yeah, it's a city rivalry, but I went to that derby and it was not really tense. So.
Yeah, but that is indeed shit. Yeah. But now they are in the Champions League. Yeah. That is huge. I think first time ever in the Champions League, right?
Our last chapter is about star breakthroughs that we're going to see also next year. So don't just say like, oh, this guy performed well this year. But also I need to hear a name from you that performed this year insane. And we'll also do it next year so people know what to look out for.
I think I have to name especially one guy, which I think is now, I have to admit it, the best fullback in the world is Nuno Mendes. Like I said before the final that Di Marco was better. And here I have to say I stand corrected, okay?
Yeah, bro. I made an angry tweet about you. I'm sorry, I was really toxic about it, but
You made a tweet about me?
Yeah, I made a tweet about imagine thinking Di Marco is better than
Bro is making tweets behind my back. I didn't even see that. Bro has proven me wrong. And I think when you're wrong, you have to admit it. I was wrong.
That's fair. That's fair for you to admit. Luckily, I haven't been that much wrong in my life, so I don't know how it feels to be in the wrong.
Fuck off, man.
But about these players, I don't want to be arrogant or brag, but in the beginning of the season, I said Bradley Barcola is going to be a huge gem. Vitinha,
Barcola is maybe leaving PSG. You know, he didn't get
is going to be the most insane important player.
Did you see that? Did you say that? I didn't hear you say that.
Vitinha.
Did you capture that on video?
On Twitter, you can see some tweets.
Okay.
Nuno Mendes, best left back right now.
Did you say all of that?
Yeah.
But did you know that in 2008 I said Lamine Yamal will be the best player in the world?
In 2008?
Yeah.
Okay, respect.
We can both claim that, right?
But Nuno Mendes,
okay.
Nuno Mendes is also Sportingista.
Yeah, okay.
So,
but he's by far, bro. He pocketed Lamine Yamal is also definitely super big, biggest star of the season. But Nuno Mendes pocketed him in the Nations League final.
Yeah, but my star breakthrough is Lamine Yamal.
Okay,
because this guy is. I hate to hear the comparison with Messi, but Lamine Yamal, what he has and what he does is just different than other players. He just has that. I can't explain it. You have to play football to understand it and experience it.
It's true. He has a special something.
And I think the best player, consistent-wise, this year has been Vitinha.
Yeah,
this guy is just mad. Like
Portugal, bro, they're stacked. I think I said this on the video. I think Portugal are one of the favorites for the World Cup.
Yeah, I hope for them in the World Cup, Ronaldo is going to start on the bench and then he comes on in the 80th minute to force. That's what I would hope for Portugal.
And then he scores like the header in the final. Imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Portugal are stacked. I agree with your Lamine Yamal take as well. I think he's taken another step. I just think the Nations League loss was good for him because he.
Why are people saying he's arrogant?
I don't think he's too arrogant, but I think he's very confident. He puts up Instagram stories before every game. Did you see that?
Yeah, so every Gyökeres does as well.
But he always delivered so far. Like Yamal puts up Instagram stories every game, like kind of trolling his opponents, and then he would always deliver. So it always worked. But with Portugal, he did the same thing. He put up a story. What
did he say?
I don't even remember, but he put up. You can check it. It's all over TikTok. Put up a story. Then he didn't obviously win. And then there was a few clips where the Portugal players were giving the Spain players a guard of honor, like they were walking to pick their silver medals. You clap for them, and the Spain players were clapping every Portugal player. Lamine Yamal clapped everyone from Portugal, and when Ronaldo was there, that's the only one where he didn't look at him. He didn't look at him. He didn't look at Ronaldo. He was like, so that was pretty weird because everyone else, he looked them in the eyes. And kind of he didn't want to look Ronaldo in the eyes.
Maybe he's a big Messi fan.
No, but this is just disrespectful, honestly. Like Ronaldo is the first guy to support the young guys, to support young talents. Like Ronaldo is super, super supportive of these young talents. That was the first time, I like Yamal, but that was the first time when I was like, bro, who the fuck do you think you are? Like
he is 17. He's going to make mistakes.
You are 17. Ronaldo is a 40-year-old legend of football. Why can you not look him in the eyes? I think it's good. He's 17, he will learn. Also, when Portugal then got their medals, Spain players were there, they clapped for them as well. Do you know who was the only one who left on his own?
Lamine
went to the dressing room. That's a bit strange. Like the whole Spain team was there clapping. Lamine Yamal was like, headphones on to the dressing room, didn't clap. I think he has to learn how to lose.
Yeah.
But he is 17, he is a kid. Give him the time, and
but
he will.
It's also the mentality what probably has made him one of the best footballers.
Yeah, but there's a difference between confidence and
of course
and disrespect.
Of course,
and this is disrespect. But he will learn.
Finally, guys, we just want to thank you so much for the support. We're not gonna stop. Let's make that clear. We want to put every week an episode for you guys with special guests. Next season, we're gonna elevate our guests. I promise you. Thank you so much for all the likes, all the comments, subscribers, followers. We love it. You give us a lot of confidence to continue this journey. So we will do that.
And next Wednesday, there will be another special episode, so look forward to that. Maybe another prediction where we will roast each other. See you there, be there, and peace out.